When you think about ancient history, it often feels like this big, blurry fog of legends and kind of hazy timelines. But what if I told you there's one single day, a real foothold from over 2,500 years ago that we can pinpoint with absolute certainty? Well, today, we're going to track it down. So, what is it? And I mean, the first exact date, month, day, and year that we can actually tie to a specific human event. It sounds simple enough, right? But the answer, well, it's going to take us on a wild ride through ancient wars, some brilliant minds, and literally the clockwork of the cosmos itself. Okay, so to find our answer, we've got to draw a line in the sand. On one side, you've got what we could call mythical time. Think of things like Mayan dates that talk about creation stories, not something you could actually see happen. Then, on the other side, there's verifiable history, recorded events that we can actually cross-reference with hard scientific evidence. We're looking for something in that second category. And you gotta understand, this was way harder than it sounds for most of human history. There wasn't some universal calendar. An event in one kingdom was dated by its own ruler's timeline, the 5th year of King What's-His-Name, which meant absolutely nothing to the people next door. It was just this total fog of disconnected timelines. So how do you find one single day that cuts through all of that? Well, our journey is going to take us all the way back to the 6th century BC. And look, don't picture some primitive, quiet world. No way. This was an age of explosive change and innovation, totally buzzing with energy. So let's kind of set the scene here. This is a time of clashing empires and huge ideas. Over in Athens, Solon is laying the groundwork for democracy. The Babylonian Empire is at its absolute peak, and the Persian Empire with Cyrus the Great is just around the corner. And smack dab in the middle of all that chaos, in 585 BC, that's where we find our key event. And all this energy, it wasn't just about wars and kings, you know? You had Phoenician sailors sailing all the way around Africa. The anchor was just invented. Over in China, they were figuring out how to fumigate houses. And on a little Greek island, a young guy named Pythagoras was starting to play around with ideas that would change math forever. Seriously, this world was just buzzing with curiosity. And right at the heart of all that curiosity, we meet our main character, a philosopher named Thales. He was one of the very first thinkers to look at the world and try to explain it with natural principles, not gods and myths. He had this idea that everything was basically made of water. A little simple, sure, but it was a totally revolutionary way of thinking. And he was about to make probably the most mind-blowing prediction of the entire ancient world. Okay, so this brings us to the main event. We have the time, the place, and our philosopher. Now we just need the action, a moment so dramatic and so weird that it would be written down for all time. For years, these two huge empires, the Medes and the Lydians, had been locked in this nasty, grinding war right in the middle of what's now Turkey. The fate of the whole region hung in the balance. And on this one specific day, their armies were lined up, ready for another massive, bloody battle. But hey, remember our guy, Thales? He'd been studying the stars, probably using astronomical records he got from the Babylonians. And based on what he figured out, he basically told everyone to look up because something absolutely wild was going to happen in the sky that very year. And his prediction? It was as simple as it was terrifying. He said that day would turn into night, that the sun itself would just disappear. I mean, can you even imagine hearing that in a world without science websites or push notifications? It would have sounded like a prophecy, or maybe just total madness. And then it happened. Right there, in the heat of battle, as the Medes and Lydians were going at it, the sky started to get dark. The air got cold. And within moments, the midday sun was just gone, replaced by this black hole in the sky with a ghostly ring of light. The soldiers, totally terrified by this cosmic omen, just dropped their weapons. The war, it just stopped right then and there. And that unbelievable moment, a war stopped cold by a shadow, that is our key. That's what lets us finally answer our big question. This is the moment where the human story and the cosmic clock align perfectly. So, there it is, May 28th, 585 BC. That's it. That's the day the sun went out, the war stopped, and history got its first scientifically provable date. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That's a fair question. This was over 2,500 years ago. How on earth can we be so sure about the exact date? It's not magic. It all comes down to this incredible piece of detective work that mixes old records with modern science. Let me break it down for you. It's basically a four-step process. Okay, so first up, the historical record. The ancient historian Herodotus wrote all about this battle being stopped by an eclipse. Step two, the event itself. A total solar eclipse is a super precise, predictable celestial event. Then you bring in step three, modern astronomy. With our computers, we can literally rewind the planets and stars and map the exact path of any eclipse in history. And here's the kicker. Step four, the only match. There is only one total solar eclipse that was visible in that part of the world during that time frame. Just one. So, just to put this in perspective, let's look at some other candidates. You've got Mayan dates, but those are tied to myths, not stuff we can verify. There's an older Chinese record from 775 BC, but it's just an astronomical note. It's not connected to a big human event like a war. But the eclipse of Thales, it's the whole package. It's this perfect marriage between a huge historical moment and an unchangeable scientific fact. So, okay, why does any of this really matter? Why chase down one single day from so long ago? Because this isn't just a cool piece of trivia, you know? This date, it represents something so much bigger. This is really the moment when our understanding of the past starts to change. It's where human storytelling smacks right into astrophysics. It's this one solid point in time where we can say with total certainty, this happened right here on this day. And that gives the rest of the human story a solid footing and a whole new kind of reality. Think about it. Before this, so much of history is this murky river of around this time and in the reign of so-and-so. But on May 28th, 585 BC, bam, the fog just clears. For one day, we can see the soldiers on the field, we can see the sky go dark, and it's like we can feel the solid ground of certainty under our feet. It's this beautiful, clear anchor for all of human history. And this way of thinking, using actual evidence to figure out the world, it was really starting to catch on. Thales used the sky, but one of his contemporaries, Xenophanes, used the earth. He saw fossil shells on mountains and figured, hey, the ground itself must have moved. They were looking, they were thinking, they were predicting. They were literally building the foundations of science from scratch. So here's what we're left with. Thales used the most reliable clock he could find, the cosmos, to lock down one day in time. And in doing so, he helped turn legend into history. Today, we're inventing brand new ways to measure everything, from our own DNA to global data. So the real question for us is, as we point these powerful new tools at the past, what new fogs are about to clear for us next?